Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days. And I continue to sound like a broken record by saying this, but it's likely to be warm and dry over the next 5 days, continuing from the last week or two of very warm and dry weather, with temperatures widely in the high teens into the low 20s or even mid 20s in some regions. Plenty of sunshine, especially in the west, but more widely in the east, especially through today and through the coming days as well. If we've cut off a little bit of that easterly flow, which has dragged on some cooler and cloudier air, we're not seeing that at the moment. Hopefully should stay at bay for the next few days. As we head beyond that, as we head in towards the middle of June, as we'll see in the GFS, GM, ECMWF and the ensembles, there are still hints there could be a bit of a change coming up, but the models aren't really going with any major scenario at this stage. We thought in the last few days there could be a risk of some thunderstorms starting to build in, with a bit of instability and low pressure moving up from the southwest. That still looks like a possibility, but at this stage we're not seeing too much support for it. There is some support, but not much more than yesterday, probably a little bit, actually a little bit less on the operational runs, keeping that low pressure further away. So the overall theme is looking likely that it will be warm and dry for the next week or two, perhaps a few hints of a little bit of a change, but nothing too distinct at this stage. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So if we do start on the live radar at the moment, again, it is bone dry. No rain or cloud in the sky for most regions. According to this around 2 p.m, the temperatures are starting to climb quite widely. Of course, their peak will be around the 3 or 4 p.m. mark, so we've got another hour or two of warming, and you can really see it's high teens in many regions. The Far East still a little bit chilly, but most parts now are warming up, especially western regions see those thicker oranges starting to develop, which are high teens, touching on 20 degrees and likely 21 to maybe 23 come 3 or 4 p.m. this afternoon. So very warm and continually very dry as we do continue through this weekend into the start of next week as well. If you do go over to the UKV and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, once again, very little in terms of precipitation. Again, pretty much bone dry over the coming days. Some cloud drifting here or there at times, but again, nothing major at all, and looking generally quite dry. There could be some cloud that does linger in the Far East at times, and we have to keep an eye on that. And there is the risk of a few heavy thundery showers, perhaps early next week in northern regions, but again, they look very isolated and very localised. Therefore, not expecting anything too much from that. So no real signs of anything, other than a bit more cloud perhaps in the east returning, and keeping us fairly warm. Again, look at the upper air temperatures around the high single digits, so slightly above average for the time of year as we do head into early next week. And over the coming days, it's generally around a sort of a similar value. So around the high teens, low 20s quite widely. If you put on the actual max temperatures for the next few days, again, you can see this afternoon widely high teens, if not getting to the low 20s, 20 to 22 degrees for the top temperature today. So not quite as warm as it has been recently, but still widely sunny and warm. Can't ask for much much better than that. Into Saturday, even warmer, temperatures widely 20 to 22, peaking at 23 or even maybe 24. And then as we head into Sunday, once again, could see at 23 or 24 or even maybe 25 degrees in some spots of southern England and parts of the Republic of Ireland perhaps. Into Monday, again, a tiny bit chillier in the east, but still widely 20 to 22 degrees in the west, 23 to 24, or even slightly higher across the Republic of Ireland. I've said this for a number of days now. Republic of Ireland looks one of the best regions for this spell over the next 5 days, plus being more towards the centre of the high, really holding on to those very warm temperatures. Into Tuesday, again, very warm, best temperatures here looking across south and southwest England, and then again the Republic of Ireland 24 or 25 degrees into next Tuesday, looking very warm and very dry and very sunny in the west as well. The Far East, again, you can see slightly cooler temperatures, mid to high teens there, again getting held down by a bit of cloud and cooler conditions coming in off the North Sea, but at this stage nothing as widespread as it has been earlier this week, still generally fairly pleasant. So we do head into the longer range now. have a look at the GFS and see what that's showing over the course of the next couple of weeks. Now, in the last few videos, it has shown the risk of some quite big thunderstorms. Now, today, it doesn't quite have that same pattern. It does evolve it to a similar extent, but not to the same severity. So day 5, you can see that we are under high pressure and fairly dry and fairly warm winds coming in off the near continent. You can see this low down towards the Azores, trying to drift towards the Bay of Biscay and towards the UK. It makes some progress and could shove some instability our way at times, but it doesn't really make its way much closer to the UK. It doesn't really get too close. Again, if we have a look at some of the Cape, you can see it does throw a bit of instability, especially into northern France and maybe towards the UK at times. And again, if we look at the accumulated precipitation, you can see there's a few showers developing in that period. So it could be a few areas of rain with that, but not expecting anything too much under that instability. Beyond that, high pressure continues to dominate all the way to the end of the run, before it eventually slips away and allows more of a northerly or northwesterly move in, much cooler air. But before that, we're generally in average to above average air masses, stuck firmly under higher pressure. Perhaps a bit of instability, a few odd thunderstorms, but nothing anywhere near as significant as we were seeing only yesterday. Again, it could fluctuate, it could change, so we'll just have to keep a very close eye on it. Things are known to be up and down, and especially in this sort of scenario where we are really clutching at straws for changes, because it's pretty much been the same the last week or two, and it's looking likely to be the same the next week. So we're always going to concentrate on these changes a little bit more, simply because it is pretty much the same old at the moment. And as I said, we'll just have to keep a very close eye on it. If we look at the GM, which did go very warm yesterday, showed a bit of a thundery pattern, but not quite as succinct as the GFS did, but draw up more of a southerly wind. If we do head towards sort of the day 6, day 7 range, it does try and bring that low pressure in, and it does bring a strong southerly wind in, enough for the continent. It does bring in some reasonably warm or hot air. Nothing quite as hot as yesterday, still well above average. And if we zoom into the 2-meter temperatures for this, again, still low to mid-20s, or even higher. You see midday here, Republic of Ireland 23 to 25. You'd expect that to be a couple of degrees higher by 3 p.m. So still very warm, if not trending a little bit hot in a few regions by the end of the run, but not quite as warm as yesterday, and not chucking as much instability our way. If we look at the accumulated precipitation, very, very minimal rainfall. The rainfall does get to some of the Channel Islands, very close to our southwest, but really doesn't make any progress into the bulk of the British Isles. If you look at the ECMWF now, again, high pressure completely dominating over the coming days. As we head towards day 7 to day 8, you do see low pressure make some sort of influence, and it does have a lot of rain associated with it, but again, doesn't quite reach southern and western coasts. And beyond that, we just stay fairly warm, with warm air wafting up from the south. Once again, temperatures in the high teens, low 20s, or even mid 20s in some regions. So ECMWF very similar to the GM. Keep us very dry and very warm. So if you are enjoying this warm, dry spell, looking likely that it will continue over the coming days and perhaps even the coming weeks, with little sign that we'll see any significant change. Could be some instability, could be a few thunderstorms in around a week's time, but no significant change really. And even if that low pressure does throw a bit of instability our way, it's not going to shove the high pressure away, so it will likely turn drier after perhaps a brief thundery spell. If you finally look at the ensembles, you see average to above average over the coming weeks, and there is some precipitation in around 7 to 10 days' time, but still fairly minimal. There are some quite cool runs appearing here. Again, probably those bringing a bit of a northerly flow, but the majority is still average or above average, still looking very warm and very dry. If you look at the 2-meter temperatures, still set into the low 20s quite widely, still looking very stunning, and yeah, not really anything too bad on the horizon. Sea level pressure is looking still fairly high, some lowering towards the end, but again, that's normal when you've got ensembles, generally high pressure for the foreseeable future. And finally, if we do compare it to the ECMWF, even warmer, plenty of warm or even hot runs appearing here, with temperatures getting towards 12, so maybe as high as 16 degrees at 850 HPA. That would be pushing the mid to high 20s if we saw that sort of scenario, and still very minimal precipitation coming up as well. It is an exceptionally warm and dry spell we're seeing at the moment. If we saw this in sort of July time, we'd be looking at sort of a week or two of consecutive high 20s or even 30 degrees, simply because being later in the year, even stronger sunshine, even warmer air masses, and we haven't got as much of a North Sea cooling impact there. So, yeah, early in the season to be seeing a major heat wave. This is no heat wave by any means, but definitely a very warm and dry spell. And if this, as I said, fell in the peak of summer, really would have the potential of being sort of a historic warm and dry spell. Instead, it's just a warm and dry spell that is notable for its lack of rainfall recently, but not really for its temperatures yet. As I said, in a longer range, upper temperatures do continue to rise. There is the possibility of seeing mid to high 20s or even maybe 30 degrees at a push. But at the moment, it's just looking likely to stay, as I said, that sort of warm, above average temperatures and pretty much bone dry for most regions, at least for the next 5 days and probably for the next 10 days as well. So anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you enjoy all this warm and sunny weather over the weekend, and I'll see you again for another video soon.